out of America's coal and natural gas plants. The rules, they're complicated. But here's the bottom line. The new rule, citing a climate crisis, would require power plants to cut emissions using what's called carbon capture and storage, CCS. It's a new technology. It basically strips out the nasty stuff from the emissions and then pipes it underground. You can do that, or the plants can switch to hydrogen as a fuel source. Now, these rules are a big deal. Carbon capture, which is actually not loved by many on the environmental side, is part of Biden's edict to try to wipe out carbon dioxide emissions from the power industry within 12 years. Now, keep this in mind. Right now, in 2023, the United States has exactly 0 active power plants using carbon capture technology. In fact, there is only 1 power plant in the world using it. That is kind of a small to mid-sized generation facility in Saskatchewan, Canada. The technology is new, it is somewhat unproven, and it is very expensive. Now, you may love these rules from a climate perspective. We all want CO2 out of emissions and out of the air. But also know this. Right now, coal and natural gas make up about 60% of America's daily electricity generation. In fact, today, in the upper Midwest, coal was 1/3 of all power generation. And some in the energy business say that with the added cost of carbon capture, many or all coal power plants will either shut down or be forced to dramatically jack up their electricity rates to pay for this technology. There's a lot of climate issue here, but let's focus on the business side of this story. Joining us now is Mike Sommers, American Petroleum Institute President and CEO. And you know, Mike, you're coming on and people say, okay, here's a fossil fuel guy. Clearly they hate it and they're going to slam it. I don't know. We haven't spoken before this. I could see a situation where the natural gas industry could rail publicly, but privately be thinking, guess what? We get to pick up all this coal electricity generation that's going to probably be shut down because they can't do it and make any money without charging us like massive amounts for electricity. Where do you and the API stand?
Well, the one question I think that everyone has to ask here is, what is this going to do for reliability within our electricity markets?
Oh, it's got to be terrible. It's got to be horrible.
There's real concern that this proposal going forward could mean unreliable electricity markets. In fact, as you know, Brian, PJM, which is the big grid operator here in the Mid-Atlantic, has already said that by 2025, we might not have enough electricity. And that means we need more natural gas plants in particular, not fewer. And what this plan, if put into place, and there's a 60-day comment period right now, if put into place, it could mean less natural gas on our marketplace. And that would mean less reliability for American consumers and American businesses.
And we hit that story a couple of weeks ago, but I want to reiterate it to everybody that's listening. If you live from North Carolina to Pittsburgh and up to New York City, I think that's about 1/3 of the American population probably that lives in that so-called Mid-Atlantic corridor. Our electricity router, for lack of the grid operator, PJM, came out about a month ago, to your point, and said, we may not be able to make enough electricity to keep the lights and the heat or the air conditioning on. They dropped that report like a hot rock on a Friday night. I reached out to them. They basically said, we're not talking, we're not making anybody available. So the grid operator is warning, we may not have enough electricity, Mike. But at the same time, the EPA is making a move which, whatever you think about the climate side, is going to probably shut down almost all coal plants in the country. I don't understand where the extra power is. Where is it coming from? Magic? Like, where is it coming from?
Well, we also have to remember the climate side. You brought up the climate side. One of the key reasons that the United States has been able to cut emissions over the course of the last decade is because of a fuel switch from coal to natural gas. And this rule, if implemented the way that the EPA is talking about, could put natural gas plants at risk. And what that means is that American consumers won't have access to the energy that they need to fuel our economy and to continue to grow the middle class with inexpensive, reliable energy. So I think the real concern is not just that it's going to shut down coal plants, but the impact that it could potentially have on natural gas plants, which have been the reason why the United States leads the world today in cutting emissions. That's the real concern. So you're sacrificing reliability and you're sacrificing environmental performance.
Yeah, but I will say this, and Mike, we'll let you go. Talked to a couple people today. Unlikely these rules stand up to judicial scrutiny, probably overturned by a court because carbon capture is not a proven technology, and you can't force an industry to adopt a technology that is not proven because you could literally destroy that industry. Mike Sommers of the API, appreciate it. Thank you very much.